Welcome to 1 Minute History, where I discuss some things from the book I wrote to teach homeschoolers world history called A Bible Believer Looks at World History. You can find it on lulu.com, Amazon, or the Bible Baptist bookstore, or just follow along with me here is fine. Um, I'm going to talk about history, Sumeria. Now, it's going to be longer than 5 minutes today. Just got to warn you, maybe 7 or 8 minutes. History now mentions descendants of Ham who founded a civilization south of Babylon and southwest of Elam called, after a derivation of the word Shinar or Shunar or Shumar, which we call Sumeria. The Sumerian poets wrote about creation, a flood, and a lost paradise, but not being inspired or in God's will. They altered it and created a great fantasy, which unbelieving historians claim for the original of the Judeo-Christian Bible's account. This is nonsense, as any reasonable person can compare the two accounts and see the difference between the Bible's logical and matter-of-fact statements and the absurdities of Sumerian legends. Professor Woolley, is his name, excavated in the ruins of Ur, which was one of their cities originally in 1929, and after discovering a mere 8-foot layer of silt and clay, came to have found the so-called Great Flood of the Bible. Of course, this is a great attempt to discount the Bible. As we've said before, evidence of the Great Flood is all around us, sedimentary deposits, things like that around the world. Sumerian king lists extend their history back over 400,000 years, with kings named Tammuz, also known as Nimrod, and Gilgamesh, hero of a later Babylonian epic. The Sumerians were constantly trying to fend off attempts, both successful and unsuccessful, at invasion by descendants of Shem or Semites. Elam and the Hamitic Amorites battled with Sumeria before Hammurabi, king of Babylon, finally invaded them. Ur of the Chaldees was one of their greatest cities. It's interesting to note that Sumerians did not refer to themselves as Sumerian. Their language eventually became to be like Latin to us today, the language of priests and scholars in the ancient Near East. Sumeria, like Egypt, was watered by the overflow of its great rivers through a series of canals. The irrigation system, Durant tells us, was one of the great achievements of Sumeria and the foundation of its civilization. Their art was simple, and their greatest known work was the Epic of Gilgamesh, written possibly when Sargon of Akkad, a nearby Semitic group, ruled this Hamitic civilization. Gilgamesh is non-biblical history's first Superman, or as the Bible would put it, quote, mighty men which were of old, men of renown. Technologically, Sumeria was rather primitive by other standards of the ancient Near East, as most of their tools were made of either flint, bone, or clay, or at least the ones we've found anyway that we've attributed to them. Their chief method of transportation of goods and produce was apparently by water. Sumerians worshiped the sun as Shamash, the light of the gods. They especially worshiped the virgin earth goddess Inanni, known to the Akkadians as Ishtar, who became known later as Aphrodite, Demeter, Minerva, Ceres, Diana, Sybil, the Virgin Mary, with names like Lady Liberty and the goddess of immigrants. They also worshiped the sorrowful mother goddess, Ninkarsag, who interceded with the gods for them. They worshiped Tammuz, the god of vegetation, who died and was reborn, who is a variation of Nimrod, who is mourned by his mother, wife, Semiramis, as the child who dies and is resurrected. Sin, the moon god with a crescent moon over his head, is worshipped. Much later, he becomes Allah of the Muslims. To the Sumerians, the air was full of spirits, good angels, with each Sumerian having one to protect him or her, and demons or devils trying to get rid of the protective deity and take possession of body or soul. It was common for women to be consecrated for temple duty as the wife of the gods. Speaking of women, they were nearly equal with men in regard to rights, but of course, the man was lord and master, and adultery for a woman was punished by death, so it wasn't completely equal. Okay, we'll talk about some other comments next time. Gone too far this time, but I enjoyed it. I hope that you even if you disagree with me or you don't agree with what I'm saying, I just hope you encourages you to study and to take history seriously. I can make a mistake, and people I'm looking at have drawn conclusions. So I'm relaying what I've read, what I've understood, and I would like to see your research and your study. Um, and I welcome anyone of any religion who wants to say, hey, that's not right. Here's evidence for my point of view or my understanding. And let's have some fun with history like that. All right. Thank you and have a good day.